Oh, Dan, you're right. All right. So here's my other favorite thing to do with the okay, so there's a marker, it just doesn't work. All right, this one's trash.
Is there another one?
Ah. Okay, so do you have the expert witness who says that if the child says it's true, that it's true? Okay, so, so if this child says that it happened, then it happened, right? If the child says it happened and then says it didn't happen, then that means that it happened. Okay, right? Do you have this? Nobody's nodding, right? Okay, if the child first says it didn't happen and then says it happened, then it happened. If the child first says it didn't happen, continues to say it didn't happen, but other people say it happened, it happened. Okay? So then you find, and that's what they testify to. A recantation means that it really happened, because that's what happens with children who are abused, particularly by people who they love and they don't want to, blah, 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 blah. And so what you want to do is you want to make a chart so that it's very clear, and you fill it in with the kid's name and everything. And then I always end with this question to these are really bad markers. You need to get new ones by next week. You then say to the expert witness, can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if my client is completely innocent and has never molested anyone, what is it the child could say? And they just look at you. Because there's nothing. You know, in their minds, once there's an allegation, it happened. And if the kid confirms that, great. And if the kid then recants, that makes it even more true. And if the kid continues to say it's true, it's true. And if the kid says it's true and then says it's not true, it's true. And if the kid first denies it, that's because, you know, she doesn't want to hurt her dad, and then says it's true, then it's true. So no matter what they say, so then you want to ask them the reverse. So then what? So with the teens particularly, they often recant when they figure out that, oh my God, you know, somebody's really going to go to prison. And by that time, they're stuck, because the expert is now saying that the fact that they're recanting is in and of itself more evidence. So you want to find out with the teen, what is their motivation? Are they in a group home? Are they mad at dad? Or did they get their cell phone taken away? You know, did they get into trouble at school? Do they have friends who have made allegations? What's the family dynamics? And you need to get the kids' medical records, you know, and see. Does the child have a boyfriend? You know, has she had sex? So, you know, can she describe it? You know, did dad find out and confront her? Almost always there's some family dynamic that's going on, and very often it's a group home situation. Or like this one that I had with Danny Trujillo, you know, the girl's in foster care, and she wants to get back with mom because she really does think that all this abuse she's experienced from mom, she deserved, and you know, she was willing to do anything to please mom. Other questions? Yes.
The story that you did, the three bears, you reminded the child of the story. Can you do it in the reverse and have the child tell the story?
Absolutely. The child will tell the story. You can get all these. I just ran out of time, but you know, we have the house, we have, and then what I do is I have the felt for the Three Little Pigs. And what you can do is you can have the child tell which story goes with which. So I say, you know, the three bears lived in Albany. No, they didn't. You know, is that the truth? No, because where did they really live? In the woods. You know, and you'll say, well, the three bears lived in a house made out of straw. And this works with a little bit older child, because you never want to be perceived as trying to confuse the child. So an older child will be able to tell you, you know, I'll say, you know, can you separate these out into the two stories? Yeah, they can. You know, they know which goes with the Three Little Pigs and which goes with the three bears. And so then you say, and one of the three little pigs sat on the baby bear's chair and broke it. And they go, no, that's silly. Because who sat on the chair and broke it?
Goldilocks.
Goldilocks. Oh, you're so good. I'll give you a sticker. Okay? So that's what they'll tell you. And they love it, and it's a game. And it's really hard for the prosecutor to interrupt you. Because the kid is happy. You know, and they count on the fact that the kid is attached to them and Miss Debbie. You know, and they've told them, you know, that guy, he's really scary. He's going to try to make you cry. He's going to try to get you to say it didn't happen. So let's practice. Who hurt you? Daddy, that's right. Okay, and he's going to be sitting next to Daddy, but you don't need to look at him. You can look at Miss Debbie, okay?
Okay.
And if he's mean to you, I'm going to make the judge stop him, okay? So you just look at me and Miss Debbie. We're your friends, okay? We're going to get ice cream after?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So now, if you're not the bad guy, you know, you come in and say, you know, my little boy loves these stickers. Do you? Okay. Do you want one?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to pick out which one?
Sure.
Okay, and you go up, you want me to come up there so you can see them better? Okay, and then that's it, you're between her and Miss Debbie, yes.
Do you do the exact same thing for the competency hearing and the trial
It's
pretty much?
really best in the competency hearing. As far as I'm concerned, Judge Scalia, unbeknownst to him, actually helped us in the Crawford case, because I think after Crawford, you know, we always, I don't know if you guys had it, we had cases where they weren't even gonna bring the kid in. You know, they're just gonna bring in the Child Protective Services worker and say, and I believed her. She was able to tell the story, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think after Crawford, and that's what's in these articles, I think that after Crawford, that there is no more, you know, we bring in everybody but the kid. And so I think that you win most of these. And even if you don't win, I mean, depending on, you know, who your judge is and who your prosecutor, you may very well make the prosecutor get that they better plead it to something, you know, very reasonable, because the kid isn't going to hold up. And the great thing about it, about doing it this way, is they can't prepare the witness. You know, I mean, we're always nervous, aren't we, at pretrial hearings, suppression hearings, to like alert the cop that, oh, you really have to say it was in plain view. You really have to say whatever. You can't fix it. The prosecutor can't fix the kid. It's developmental. You know, a 4-year-old simply can't understand the concepts of before and after. They just don't know how it works. They don't know that Santa Claus, and I mean, you know, and I've had to prosecute, she's going to tell them that Santa doesn't exist. You know, you really? You think so? You know, and they can't fix it, because what are they going to do? You know, between now and then, are they going to tell them Santa is fantasy? You know, I don't think so. You know, are they going to tell them that God is going to be sad and Mom's going to be mad? You know, I mean, they're not going to, they can't fix it, because you can't fix a developmental problem. So if you do it at the competency hearing, you know, then the judge can see that this nonsense, you know, give them a copy of my article. You know, because it has the case, you know, it has the case law. And it has the concerns. You know, and I go and talk to judges, and I say, look, you know, these are the kinds of cases that are most likely to have innocent people put in prison. You know, in the cases where there's no evidence. I mean, is this gonna get you to win your case if the 4-year-old child has chlamydia? You know, vaginal tearing? You're probably not. But in a case where the allegation is, you know, Daddy touched me 4 years ago during visitation, this is the case that you can win. Okay? Any other questions? Yes?
I'm trying to do this looping thing.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear. With, at the competency hearing, you never get into the case.
The facts of the case, never.
Okay.
Never, because it doesn't help. All you're doing is sort of reinforcing that the kid will say anything that you want. And in their minds, there's one more time that she's confident that, you know, Daddy touched her pee-pee. You know, and if that's what she's learned to say, and I mean, we're not child psychologists. I mean, if you have $1 billion and your court will let you, you know, you can do it like with the sand, you know, and have an independent person. But like in the Trujillo case, we hired somebody. And he read through we hired a really good psychologist. And he said, I couldn't interview the kids now and tell. You know, after the 14-year-old, you know, we were pretty confident was lying by that point. But he said that the 5-year-old, who was the one that, you know, we sort of wanted him to talk to, he said she had told the story so many times that there was absolutely no way for even an expert to make a determination as to whether or not she was telling the truth. So you don't want to be part of the problem. You know, and you don't want, if the expert comes up on the stand, to have somebody say, well, he asked the questions too.
What about at trial? Do you go into as much as possible?
No, I mean, there's no sense in it. It doesn't help you. Because again, if the child says, well, it happened, you know, in June, and now they're saying it happened in July. Anybody here give a shit? Trust me, no juror does. You know, it happened in the bedroom. That's what I'm saying, is that we have to just get out of that framework that what we would normally do with a snitch or a police officer or whatever is going to work. It's not going to work. Not going to work unless perhaps it's the teenager who has made up the story.
So what do you, like, say you don't, say at the trial testimony, like in front of the jury, if you're doing like the Goldilocks thing or Christmas, what do you then like say on closing?
If you need an expert witness to say that the child doesn't know reality versus, and then you just say there's no evidence of this. I mean, hopefully you have a client who can take the stand and say, I didn't do it. I just didn't do it. And then you can argue that, you know, this is a made-up story. You know, this is a child who believes, because the prosecutor will get up and say, and she's going to say that Susie is lying. You know, I stand up, you object right then. Your Honor, I object, this is nonsense. We've never said that Susie is a liar. And you can get up and say, look, you know, ladies and gentlemen, you know, Mr. Thurston here, or Ms., they always have women prosecutors, right? Ms. Dipshit over here, you know, says that she's speaking for the victim and that she's speaking for the people of the state of whatever you are, and that, you know, she's protecting this child. Nothing could be further from the truth. When this child gets old enough to understand that something she was trained to say had repercussions for the rest of her father's life, she will be destroyed. You're the ones who are going to protect her. You're going to protect her from misguided prosecution. You're going to protect her from a vengeful mother. And you're going to protect her from a lifetime of remorse. Okay? So you want to be the one. That's why you're best friends with the kid by the end. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, it's not often that I stand up and say, I'm here for the person they say is the victim. Well, she is a victim. She's a victim of malicious prosecution, blah, 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 blah. And there's two victims, her and her grandfather. You know, and I want you to speak for both of them. And the way to protect that child is to find my client not guilty. So now are you all excited about your cases?